Hi guys, my name is Phil and welcome to PhilDoes3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the US, that's 4 PM now that you guys have finished daylight savings, 11 AM in Australia and 12 AM in the UK. Let's load up the max file we were working on yesterday. While that's loading up, I'm just going to do a quick shout out and thank you to everyone that followed my channel yesterday. Duca Blackheart, Monstrier, Kiori123, RYB, Digitalis, Sniper Echo, Smurfberry Barbecue, great name by the way, Ben Johan, Yursiv, and Twerbine, I think, or TW Bine. Thank you guys very much for following the channel. I really appreciate it. It was great chatting to all of you yesterday in the chat. Just waiting for Max to finish loading up our file. We're working on a garden terrace. We were doing the banister railings yesterday, so I think we'll continue with that today. Alright, so this is the garden terrace we've been working on. We've still got just a little bit of texturing left to do before we can export it and import it into Eon View so that we can start doing some environment renders with it. So let's go full screen on this so we can get a bit better of a look. We were working on this railing yesterday. I think we'll continue doing some work on that today. We're going to make probably another 2 or 3 copies of that texture with a bit of variation so that we can start copying it around the outside of the terrace. I think 2 or 3 copies, 3 copies probably will be enough. That'll give us enough variation that you won't notice that we're repeating the texture. We haven't finished this texturing yet, so don't worry about that stretching there. We'll cover all that up in just a minute. And I also think that I want to go a bit darker on this top section. Instead of leaving it that yellow, I want to make it more of this dark and dirty sandstone color. I also want to fix up some of this dirt mark. So anyway, let's jump into Mari. And this is the banister we've been working on. Let's start fixing up this texture a bit more, I think. We will work on a new layer, because remember, it's always better to create a new layer. That way, if you don't like what you've done, you can easily remove it. We'll pull in the texture we were using yesterday, which is this one here. Okay. I'm just going to pull in on my model a bit. Make sure my texture is scaled correctly to match what we've already painted. Notice I'm comparing this one to this one here so I can judge how much we have to scale the texture down. If I place them just next to each other, you can see it quite easily. That's about there like that. Okay, now in Mari to rotate a model, you just press the Alt key and the right mouse, left mouse button. I think we'll darken up this bottom section. We'll start there, so it better matches the sides. So I'm going to move down to the darker part of the texture here and paint that in. And press the Alt key to back that down. That red shading again is masking so that you don't accidentally paint over an area you've already done. I just have to be a little bit careful on this back edge. And once we've painted the dark part of the texture in, we'll go over it to remove any repetition we're seeing. Just going to pull that down. And bake that in. Alright, now let's throw a bit of, let's fix some of the repetition that's happening in the texture. So I'm just going to grab the next section up this bit. We've been working with this bit, we'll work a bit with this one, and we'll mix and match them around a bit. So for instance, I'm just going to paint a bit more of the dark in here. I'm going to paint some more of the light color through here. Maybe pop a bit more dark just in there. Bake it down. Now I have to be careful because these, if you repeat this part of the texture, it's going to be quite noticeable because that's a unique feature in the texture map itself. So we will just be careful not to use that again. Maybe this part of the texture through here. And again, I don't want any of that white showing up, so just a question of painting and moving the texture and painting again, just to get rid of any repetition that you see happening. Again, I don't really want that white in there, so I'm going to just paint that out. I like that that edge look there, that chipped edge look. So I'm just going to use that a couple more times along the edge here. Just right on that edge, that just in a spot here and there, just to give the texture a little bit more interest. I'm just rotating the model so I can see that edge more easily. I'm not going to do it all the way along, just here and there in spots. Now I don't like the way that this this white part of the watermark looks, so I'm going to paint that out. And again, I'm going to paint it out with the dark part of the texture. And bake that down. We actually haven't painted up the top, so let's do that now. I'm going to do that by angling the model, not front on, not top on, but on an angle so we can hit both sides at once. Something like that. And again, I'm going to work with the dark part of the texture here. Again, I'm going to have to come back and fix these bits that we see here because they're too recognizable with the ones above them, but we'll finish the rest of the texture and come back and fix that up. I'm also just going to make sure my texture is rotated to match the model. And again, I don't want any of this white part in the texture, so I'm just going to move the texture along to make sure we don't accidentally paint any of that white in. I'm going to bake that down. We're going to come back to this section here and paint over those circles. And the same thing, I think, just down here on the bottom. Okay. Remember, guys, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about or anything you want some help with, feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you just want to pop in and say hello, then yeah, fine, please do. If you just want to watch, then that's completely fine as well. Okay. I'm also going to paint out the white here, I think. For this, I'm going to rotate the model directly on like that. Just wondering if we have another texture that might be good for that, but I think we'll stick with the same texture. It's probably better. Again, I don't want any of the white, so I'm just going to keep moving the texture around to remove any of the white part of the texture when we get to it. Move that down. And bake that down. And we're going to do the same thing with the base here. With the base, I think I might go to the lighter part of the texture because this is, if it's seen, which I don't think it is, it actually butts up against the tiles. It would make sense that it would be lighter because it would be protected from any environment weathering, so we can use the lighter part of the texture here. Okay, I'll move it down a bit. Just there like that. We'll bake that down. And now I just want to blend these edges in together a little better, so I'm just going to angle the model slightly back. Just, oh, not that color, I want something a bit darker. I think this color through here, yeah. I'm just going to blend those together a little better. I don't mind having a bit of the white streaking here on the front, but what I'll do, I think, is I'll finish doing my blend on the edge and then we'll come back and we'll look at that. So again, I'm just rotating my texture to match the underlying model's angle. And just painting in parts to blend those two textures together a bit more. That's a great thing about using by painting in 3D. You can visually see quickly whether your texture seams are going to blend across or not. For this one, I think we'll go with the lighter color. Okay. Let's come back to this white mark here at the front. Going to angle it up so that I have masking happening on the top and the bottom so I don't accidentally overpaint that. and I'm going to find part of the texture here that I like the look of, and probably just here, like that. I'm just going to overpaint that there. And bake it down. That just makes it look like that mark has run down the front side of that front-facing piece there, as it has on the sides just here and here. Have that texture blended across. Just want to fix that corner up just in there where that light mark is. I think that looks a bit odd, so I'm just going to rotate again my texture to match the underlying geometry and position it so I can paint some of the darker area just through here in that corner. And you don't have to worry about the side piece here because it's masked out. Alright. Again, being a bit lighter underneath would be okay because again it's going to be partially protected by the from weathering by the top of the banister. But I do want to darken up this front section just here. So again, I'm going to angle it up slightly like that. And again, I'm going to work with the darker part of the texture, I think, through here. I'm going to paint along, and if any of the white streaks look a bit odd, then we'll overpaint them, but we'll paint it out first and then we'll have a look. And again, I'm just slightly going into the underside just to blend those textures together a bit more, except for the white. Back that down, move our texture along, maybe move it up a bit. And again, I want to get rid of those 3 or 4 dots that we see appearing because they're going to be really noticeable as being repeated otherwise. So I'm just going to move the texture around a bit and overpaint them. Not that much. In fact, we need a darker part, I think. Maybe here. I may end up doing some color correction in Photoshop as well, I think. And again, I don't want this repetition happening here and here, so I am going to paint out these white marks up on the top. I'm just going to paint them out with some of the dark part of the texture, I think. Alright. Let's work on the very top piece here. And again, I don't want it to be that light, I want it to be darker, so I'm actually going to angle the model almost top down. So let me think, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to angle it back slightly so it's angled toward me, not away from me. So that's just so if I paint on this edge, I don't accidentally paint on this part here. Something like that. Again, I'll leave the white in here, but I'm going to remove it once I've painted up the rest of the texture up. The same with those 3 or 4 dots that we see reappearing again. Anything that you notice that you can see is going to be obvious that it's a repeating texture you want to paint out. So these ones through here, these ones through here. I'm actually going to remove them up here as well, I think. You can leave one or two in if you like, but yeah, best not to show any repetition. I also want to remove the white streaking here and here. It won't make sense because this is lying horizontally, it's not vertical, so best to get rid of it, I think. Again, I like that edging that's happening here, so I'm going to move that into a few spots just along that edge. And maybe a bit just down here. Okay, and I'm going to also remove the white streaking that we have happening down on this edge here. You'll notice I move the texture around quite a bit. That's just so I can find the right bit to overpaint. Paint that bit out there. Okay. Let's work on this front-facing piece now. And because we're working in Mari and we're working as a project, to do the variations will be quite easy. We just have to use the base texture and throw a bit of, just change up bits here and there to make it look unique. Again, I'm going to angle the model up so that the masking is taking effect. I'm just going to paint these sections in. I'll leave those dots there for the moment, but I will remove them. Paint that bit in there. I don't mind some of the white streaking here because this is a vertical piece of geometry, so although I think I may pull it back just a bit, so maybe a bit in there like that. And these two are very noticeably repeating, so I'm going to remove this bit here. Like that. And we have this lower edge now that we just have to blend in, so let's angle our model up a little. Again, make sure our textures are lined up. Again, I like that edge look here, so I'm just going to move that down a little and repeat it a couple of times along that edge. And this bit just down the end. Okay, we'll bake that down. Let's rotate our model around and work on this edge here. I'm just painting out some sections that look like they're repeating. Or overpainting, I should say, some sections that look like they're repeating. I don't mind having a bit of the white show up through here, because this again is a vertical section of the model. Alright, let's work on this edge through here now. I'm going to angle the model back slightly. Again, always making sure to rotate my texture to match the position of the model underneath. Alright, let's work on these end pieces, I think. Again, I'll rotate my texture, and the further to the closer to the middle, the faster the texture rotates, have more control. In Mari, rotate it at the edge here. Let's just paint that through there. Move down to this end, and we'll do the same through here. Alright. Let's work on these side pieces now. And they're going to have to be quite dark. Again, I'm just going to angle the model like that. Rotate our texture around. I'm actually going to scale my texture up slightly here as well. Okay, we'll paint that through there. I don't know if I want any of the white streaking happening here. I may or may not, may remove it. I certainly don't want any of the lighter colored texture though. I want to keep it all quite dark. I think I will actually remove it here. I also want to remove some of those dots that are popping up. Okay, let's switch to the other side. And we'll do the same thing again. And this bit here at the bottom. I'll just bake that down. Okay, let's work on these side pieces just here. And let's work on this top piece just here. Alright, we'll jump back around to the other side again. And we'll work on this bottom piece just down through here. Again, I'm going to rotate my texture to make sure I'm always working in the same orientation as the model. Press the Alt key to bake it down, and we'll work on this top piece up here. And again, with the masking turned on, you don't have to worry about over painting any of the side pieces. We'll bake that down. Now I just want to paint in the underside here and here. Again, rotating my texture. Again, making sure masking is on. Okay, we'll bake that down. We'll rotate around to the opposite side. Make sure that you angle it enough that the masking goes a darker red. If it's only partially red, then that means it will paint on the vertical sections, but just very lightly. Maybe use 50% opacity instead of 100. So, or 0, I should say, probably. Okay, and this bit just through here. We'll bake that down. Let's just have a bit of a rotate around now. Now this streak here I didn't like, so I'm going to remove that. I'm just going to angle it like that so I can get a look at the entire section of the model, vertical and horizontal. Rotate my texture around. Find a part of the underlying texture here that doesn't have it, and I'm just going to overpaint it. Make sure I can get these to blend in a bit better. I may just continue this white streaking around to the edge a little bit more, just so that we get a better blend. So I'm just going to run my brush along the edge. I'll just help to blend those two together. I like the streaking on the bottom there. I don't mind the streaking on the side. Let's take this back into our Max and have a look. Yep. Let's save our project so we don't lose anything. Go to our channel and right click and go export flattened, export everything flattened. We're going to override our straight banister underscore painted. That's the one we already are using in Max. Okay, let's jump back into Max now. If it goes dark like that, then just reload the texture in Photoshop in 3D Studio Max. So just select the bitmap and click the reload button, and that will bring your texture back. All right, now I want to darken these up with dirt. So what we're going to do is jump back into Mari. And we're going to grab a dirt texture, which is generally an alpha map or a grayscale map. This one will work quite well. We're going to throw it on a new layer. I'm just pressing 3 on my keyboard so I can get a direct on front view. Scale that up a bit, maybe not quite that much. Make sure it rotated around to match our geometry. Alright, going to paint that in. We're going to change our layer style here, so don't worry about covering up all the texture we've just been working on. So once we've painted that down, I'm going to press the Alt key to bake it down. Move it out of the way, and let's have a look at our layer styles here. I think probably an add on this or a multiply. Okay, let's do it a lighten. I'm just going to pull it back a bit. I'm going to use the same texture and do the same thing, but on the bottom here. And again, I'm working on the same layer. I still have my layer style selected so we can see as we paint what it's going to look like. If you prefer to work that way, that's an option. Okay. Okay, we'll bake that down. And again, I'm going to do a couple on this side, so we'll do the top layer. Still working on the same layer at this stage because it's all the same texture. If you change textures, then change layers. It's usually a good idea. Okay, we'll bake that down. Maybe one here as well, I think. Maybe this... yeah. Maybe the second bottom section here. We did the very bottom on the other side, so we'll go up a little bit here. Alright, press the Alt key to bake it down, because remember it's not actually baked to the UVs until you press the Alt key. We'll create a new layer and grab another texture. Let's see. What's this one look like? Not quite. What about this one? No. I'll know it when I see it. What about this one? No. What about you? Yeah, you will work quite well. Let's, working on a new layer, I'm just going to scale this down a bit. Maybe a bit more. I'm going to paint over here. Now again, I'm only concerned with the black part of the texture here, not so much the white.